Did you know that 68% of younger employees defined as millennial and Gen Z leave a company if their digital needs are not met? So it hasn't been about avocados and baggy jeans this whole time. Having a seamless IT experience is more about having working tech and a Wi-Fi connection. It's about staff retention, remaining competitive, and driving value, whether that's in operational efficiency, green initiatives, or not having to wait a whole 5 minutes before your laptop switches on. Because of this, improving the digital experience for employees and customers is a real priority. With evolving market dynamics and fierce competition, a key way to remain competitive is to ensure that you have a seamless digital experience. And that comes with our Digital Experience Management System, or DEX as we like to call it. Welcome to today's talk about DEX. Today we'll be covering what is DEX and why it's a game changer. Then we'll do a live demo to see DEX in action, done by Neil Harper here. And we'll talk about the DEX advantage, how DEX delivers cost savings, green initiatives, and creates a frictionless digital experience for you. If you're interested to know how DEX can change the game for your organization, after this webinar, we'll be offering a free DEX consultation. Keep watching to find out what this includes. So before we get stuck in, allow me to introduce Neil Harper, our Service Improvement Manager. Neil, welcome.
Hi DT, thanks for having me. As you said, I'm the Service Improvement Manager here at Wanstor. And what that means is I work with my team so that the services Wanstor offers are continually evolving and the value they offer to our customers is constantly growing. I'm particularly excited today to talk about DEX because I've seen firsthand the value which it can deliver to our customers. Also, I really love the fact that it completely changes the expectations and scope of what service is able to deliver.
I'm so excited to get stuck in, but before we launch into the value of DEX, can you let me know exactly what is DEX?
Sure thing. So in its most simple form, it's not just a monitoring tool which looks at how the device is performing. Instead, it's a full observability platform. So it's looking at the device health, the application performance, and actually the interactions which the employees are using on that machine. For instance, you've opened an email, how quickly does it load?
Okay, so it's essentially observing a workplace's devices, but there's a bit more to that, right?
100%. So one thing is it lets you actually see the experience from a customer's perspective, not from an IT perspective. So in terms of elevating service and having that alignment, that's huge in itself. But one of the key features of DEX is it's predictive in its nature. So you're not waiting for something to break and the customer to come to you. You're actually able to see the warning signs or symptoms that something may occur. And that enables our support team to then take action before the issues even happened.
So DEX is all about improving and creating a frictionless IT experience, which is something that we believe should be standard for all our customers. But how exactly is DEX driving value beyond the IT, beyond the hardware, or beyond the predictability?
Yep, so in addition to preventing those issues, it's got so much intelligence behind it that it can actually identify areas of productivity loss. So it's not just about fixing the issues, it's about generally working to make IT work better for staff. In addition to that, DEX has so much data it unlocks other initiatives. For instance, it can show you opportunities for green initiatives and also the impact upon those. It can also give you the ability to run a more strategic approach to hardware lifecycle management.
I mean, that all sounds amazing. And I also would like to cite something I read in a Riverbed survey recently that said that maintaining a digital experience is getting harder, not easier. 86% of respondents in the survey said that one of the greatest risks to an organization's ability to grow and maintain talent is a lack of full visibility. Is that something that DEX allows them to have?
Definitely. It's got, like I said, so much data in there, but what it does is it puts it together in a single pane of glass, and then it gives you insights on top of that. So it's not just making the data easy to digest, it's telling you how it can be used most effectively. And as you mentioned, seamless experience is now needed more than ever. I think two things which we're seeing drive this in particular is just the sheer number of applications being used day to day. That's been on the rise and continues to rise. Also, generally people's expectations of technology, that's continuing to grow as well. There's the expectation that technology should be doing more for us and it should be working to a higher standard.
So what I'm hearing is DEX is addressing many obstacles faced by leadership: lack of support staff, tight budget, inadequate tools, and too much data. But speaking of budgets, and I'm sure our audience is interested to know this as well, how does DEX help cut costs?
So there's many ways in which DEX can help cut costs. One of them is, as you mentioned, in regards to staff retention. So if it can help to deliver a seamless experience, you should have better staff retention, less recruitment costs, less training costs. And that's just one of the benefits it provides. Another one is in regards to the hardware management. So not only can it elongate the hardware life cycle, it actually enables you to only replace devices as and when specific devices need it, as opposed to replacing every device at the end of a fixed period of time. Those are some of the wider business initiatives, but they're still the fundamental productivity gains. That is probably the largest cost-saving area, because not only are you preventing issues from happening, you're also boosting staff productivity, giving time back to them in their day. One of our customers using this product actually has saved over £125,000 annually.
Wow, okay. I guess the potential for cost savings here are huge, and definitely something that I know a lot of our customers are thinking about and are focused on. But DEX goes beyond that, right? There must be other huge benefits to it.
Definitely. I think one of them is just how internal stakeholders can play back the value of IT to their business. So historically, IT's been quite negative in terms of the metrics and stats it likes to use. It's typically how quickly did we fix something after it was already broken. But with this service, we're actually fixing those issues before they've happened, which forces us to change the way in which we play back that value. So it's no longer we've fixed 50 incidents quickly, it's we've prevented those 50 from happening to begin with.
So let's start with sustainability. In a trial that we ran for one of our customers, we saw that they saved 2.2 tons of CO2 per site per year. They had about 200 sites, so that's an insane amount of CO2 saved. But how exactly does that work?
Yep, let me show you. Okay, so here we are on the main dashboard of the Rebed Eternity page. This is called the Enterprise Summary, and there's lots of good information in here, which we'll probably circle back on. If we're focusing on sustainability, there is already a ready-to-go dashboard giving us this level of insights. So what it's going to do is provide us with a lot of information to begin with. You can see here, over the last 30 days, how much energy is being utilised. It's also breaking it down as a daily average. One thing which we were able to observe within our previous trial you mentioned, and we might be able to see here, is if we focus on the inactive hours. So if we drill into that, we can automatically see a pattern here, where roughly once every week, the number of inactive or idle hours does go up. This is quite typical, and what it usually indicates is devices aren't being powered off over weekend periods. That is immediately something we can act upon. For instance, you can amend the power policies to make sure that those devices aren't consuming as much power over those weekend and known inactive periods.
This can be translated in the form of just a company bulletin, please switch off your laptop on the weekends, and that's an instant CO2 saving.
Yep, we can even take it a step further. So with the Rebed Eternity platform, we can push what's called remediations, which are silent fixes, one of which is actually to amend power plans on devices. So if we wanted to break this down, we could have a look at, for instance, the departments. And we can then see, if we're looking here, it actually looks like the majority of the time is coming from, unfortunately, the sales team. So what we could do is we could identify those users, push that remediation from here, and actually we've made that change, and it's a silent win.
Great, so they don't even have to do any action on their end.
Nope, like I said, this platform can see it all and can usually, in most cases, fix it all as well.
Okay, so we've seen one form of how you can put a silent fix in, such as the remediation on the devices. How does this support long-term sustainability strategy for an organisation?
Yep, so I guess the biggest thing is the visibility aspect. So not only can you see at a departmental or a business location perspective the amount of energy being utilised, and therefore we use targeted remediations for those groups or locations. It lets you see on a wider scale everything. So you can see, for instance, how much carbon emissions an organisation is using day to day. It gives you that as an average. You can break it down over time. So not only can you identify and implement these things, you can immediately see the impact it has.
Okay, so Neil, say if I'm an IT manager and I'm using the DEX platform and I have all of this information and I know exactly what small and big wins to present to the board, is there a way to make sort of a report from this dashboard which specifically targets certain stakeholders in the decision-making process, such as HR or finance or even maybe the board itself.
Yep, so as we've checked with some of these filters and breakdowns, you can present the data in pretty much any way in which you choose. You can also make the data more specific to yourself. For instance, right now it's using this kilowatt hour price unit. If you know what your units are, you can obviously make sure those are customized. That will then give you more specific data to present back to whoever it is you're presenting to internally. You can also export this dashboard as is, or it can be customized in any way using the breakdowns.
Okay. Now, sustainability is one part of the DEX value, but what about productivity? I know that in the same DEX trial, we saw a productivity saving of 182 per device. This is a huge amount when considering that one site might have about 10 to 15 devices. But how does the user experience data from DEX actually translate into these savings?
Yep, great question. So the best place to start is actually the Digital Experience Index, which is essentially the overarching DEX score provided to the organisation.
Okay, and before we get into that, what exactly is a DEX score?
Yep, so a DEX score is the consolidated score of all of the metrics which the system is capturing. So it's how healthy is the device, how well are the applications working, and is the general experience good for the customer as well. For instance, if I click something, does it load quickly?
Okay, so the higher the score, the better.
Exactly that. So 100 is the maximum you can achieve. That's the holy grail to aim for. What you can do is you can actually benchmark your current score as well across the industry. So this current organisation has a score of 80. If we assume they are working within the financial sector, for instance, we can compare them to their peers and see how they tally up. And what it does is it breaks it down into the core categories. So the DEX score has these 4 core categories, and you can see that in this particular organisation, collaboration tools, productivity tools, and other applications are at or above the median score, whereas devices, that's actually quite significantly below. So from this dashboard and from the sunburst graph over here, we know that is the biggest area of concern, and this is where we want to start driving the digital experience. We can take advantage of the Analytics Hub here, which will automatically work out which of the most impactful instance. By improving them, how will that impact the DEX score? And more importantly, how much time and money is that going to reclaim for the business? So if we look here, one of the most impactful ones looks to be the system crashes. So if we go into that just to try and troubleshoot a bit further, it will show us all of the blue screen of death crashes which have occurred based on the last 30 days. Can obviously adjust it as needed. And what it will do is correlate it all based on the device models, the OS, the specific devices, and the specific crash reasons. If we want to drill into it in a bit more detail, we can actually see that the vast majority of these is actually all relating to this NTOS kernel. So having come across this particular issue before, this is something which does need to run on the Windows machines. It's not something you can turn off or disable. But actually there's relatively straightforward troubleshooting steps which are performed to resolve that. That could be things like check disk or an SFC scan or repair drives. This would typically involve us arranging a time with a customer, jumping onto their machine, taking time out of their day to run those fixes, and then doing that for each and every impacted device. Using this tool though, all of the actions I've mentioned can be done as a silent remediation. So we can push it to every impacted user in a single go, and it will run silently behind the scenes.
Amazing, so it takes no time out of their day. You're not sat there whilst IT is taking control of your laptop.
That's right, so with these remediations, we're effectively delivering a silent fix. What the end user should experience there is the device just works better. So
now that we've seen one example of a silent remediation, let's talk about the actual user experience behind it, because that's what productivity is about. So how does DEX collect and analyze user experience across all the devices?
Yep, so if we go back to the main dashboard, which is the enterprise summary, what it will do is it will share with us the UXI, or the user experience score, and it breaks it down here for us based on the applications and actually by the departments as well. So what you can do is you can troubleshoot on a departmental, application, or an individual user basis, and this UXI will be specific for those elements. If we look here, we can actually see sales are having the worst time of it with their user experience. And with that, what we can then do is we can then either analyze or show those users. So if we wanted to try and target one particular person, we can have a look here. And if we have a look down at the bottom here, we actually have a user, Carl Rude, who has a horrific wait time of 56%. So what I'd like to do is try to jump onto that machine, and we can see what's going on with that specific experience here. What we get when we troubleshoot on the individual basis like this is really powerful information, because we can see each and every interaction they have done within the time period defined. This enables us to identify when something's gone wrong, what triggered it, whether there are any events which occurred at that time, and make the troubleshooting process so much quicker.
And all of these fixes can be put in before you even disrupt Carl's day, essentially.
Yep, exactly that. Like we said, these remediations are silent fixes. Carl shouldn't know we've done anything. He'll just notice all of these issues fading into a memory.
Okay.
What we also can do, and what we've been evolving with as well, is actually making the experience more seamless for our engineers. So not only are we now detecting these and fixing these, we're using the system to chain them together. So this event has occurred, trigger this runbook, fix it automatically.
Incredible. Okay, so we have full control over what's happening over these devices, but also we're putting in automation in a way to help fix them quicker.
Exactly that. So the DEX service is comprised of two components. There's the alerting element, which is when we can detect something is wrong and we fix it. And the other element is a hunting element, which is going into that DEX score, observing the insights and driving the value. The more we automate, the more time we invest in that area.
Yeah. And am I right in saying that the hunting is part of our specific offerings, especially because with Wanstor, I know that our DEX score is 25% above the industry average.
Exactly that. So this as itself is a fantastic product, but unless you're going to use the insights it gives you, it's not going to deliver that value. And that's why we use that combination of the alerting, the automation, and the manual hunting to drive the value.
Now we've seen how we can drive sustainability initiatives, how we can cut productivity costs and just deliver a better user experience. Let's take a look at DEX's predictive modelling, especially when we're considering hardware, because I know hardware drives both of these things as well.
So, yeah, like we said, one of the biggest ways this service can help an organisation save costs is by elongating hardware life cycles and only replacing devices when it's needed. Again, for that, they've got a really powerful dashboard, which is a great starting point for our demo. So this is the smart devices refresh, and what's really nice about this is it gives you a nice side-by-side comparison. So we'll see here on the left-hand side a more traditional approach to hardware management life cycles, which is devices over a certain age, replace them all. And in this example, there's 32 devices, assuming a £2,000 cost for this organisation, they're spending £64,000.
Okay.
If you use a slightly more intelligent model, which leverages the device hardware metrics, so CPU, memory, things like that, you can see it's got a slight saving, so it's 60,000 as opposed to 64. On the right-hand side, this is where DEX is coming in.
Okay.
This is where it's not just looking at a single metric, it's compiling all of those together, taking into account the overall activity scores of all applications, as well as the UXI score, so the user experience. What's nice about this is you're effectively saying, if the user experience as a whole is good on that device, then why do I need to replace it? And you can see using this model, there's £44,000 on the table here to be saved already.
Okay. And I mean, I know in 2020 many companies probably bought brand new hardware to help their work from home policies. So I'm sure many are thinking about replacing this, but what you're saying here with DEX is that we could actually help cut costs by figuring out which ones need to be replaced and which ones people are still having a good experience with.
Exactly. With this, you can get rid of the dates in your calendar where you have to renew X number of devices and actually have a model which is based on a specific device when it needs to be replaced. You can also see how much productive time is being lost from those devices as well. So you can see what is the cost of replacement and what's the cost of not replacing.
Okay, so you can literally present two figures to your board or your senior leadership team, and they can make a decision based on exact costs.
Exactly. It makes the decision making process so much easier.
So I guess I can see in front of me when a device needs to be replaced, but is there any way that DEX can elongate the life of a device and make that hardware replacement time even longer?
Yep, definitely. So as you can see from the filters down here, this is saying a device will need to be replaced when the activity score is below that threshold of 90 or below that user experience score of 4 out of 5. So effectively, if you're using DEX effectively to drive the user experience and drive the device health upwards, those scores would be increased and the number of devices counted here would decrease. In a lot of instances, it's not the entire device which needs to be replaced as well. It could be a minor component such as battery or memory. So with this platform, we can immediately identify devices which may be being overstrained. For instance, we've got 7 devices here with high CPU, or 1 device here with high memory. Depending on the devices, it may be that those are minor components which can be added in or not. If we have a look here for Miriam Floyd and their Mac machine, in regards to this particular model of device, I don't think we are actually able to add in additional memory. So there's not a quick win there. In a lot of cases, though, there are. What we can see, though, is what's eating up those resources. And you can see here, both on CPU and memory, Google Chrome Helper is really eating away at pretty much everything. So typically that service goes into overdrive when there's browser extensions potentially being used which shouldn't. So immediately we've got an action here we can take for this particular user, which should hopefully drive their experience, drive up their scores, and actually hopefully mean that device lives longer.
So picking up from where you would either talk to the end user or the IT stakeholder, obviously we have our team of engineers on the other side as well. So how does DEX integrate with tools like ServiceNow, which we use to manage our tickets?
Yep, so one of the many reasons we've chosen this toolset is because it has that direct integration with ServiceNow. So with that direct integration, it means any alerts and things like this feeds directly into our ticketing. We can then manage it essentially from that ITSM platform, and actually the silent remediations I've mentioned, they can be actioned from the support ticket itself. So it's a seamless experience both for our customers but actually for our support staff as well. So our service desk vision statement is that we don't want our customers to have to contact us, because we're practically fixing, preventing their issues. And with this, we can literally just see that happening.
Speaking about our service desk vision, how are we implementing customer feedback into our product development?
So that's a huge part of my role and my team's function. We are continually driving value into our services, whether that's making it more efficient for us to deliver or actually more valuable on the customer's end when they receive that service. A huge part of that inspiration does come from our customers, who we take feedback from in a variety of different methods and often meet with them directly to discuss with them their thoughts and feedback.
So there we have it. We're not lying when we say that DEX is a game changer, which is why it's so foundational to our IT offerings here at Wanstor. This tech has the potential to transform your IT environment from a cost center to a value driver. It reframes the conversations that you're having as IT stakeholders, genuinely flipping the script. Don't forget, after the webinar, you'll receive an email where you can book a free DEX consultation. This consultation will provide you with an ROI calculation to see how much DEX can save your organization, as well as the potential for a 6-week trial period. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you so much, Neil, for demoing DEX.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.